Why did the Most High send Yisrael to Mitsrayim and Canaan despite their practices? To seekers of the truth. Shalom and blessings to you. As we delve into the mysteries of Scripture, we often wonder why Yahuah, the Most High, would send his chosen people, Israel, into lands like Mitsrayim, Egypt, and Canaan, where the inhabitants worshipped false deities and practiced sorcery. Why would a righteous and holy Elohiym place his people in environments filled with idolatry and spiritual corruption? The answer reveals profound truths about his plans, purposes, and expectations for his people. A test of faith and obedience. Yahuah often tests his people to refine and strengthen their faith. By placing Yisrael in the midst of pagan nations, he gave them an opportunity to choose him above all else. As it is written, "And you shall love Yahuah your Elohiym with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your might." Deuteronomy 6-5. Their obedience in the face of external temptations was meant to demonstrate their unwavering devotion to Yahuah, setting them apart as a holy nation and a kingdom of priests. Exodus 19-6. To display his power and sovereignty, Yahuah's mighty works in Mitsrayim, such as the plagues and the parting of the Red Sea, were not only acts of deliverance, but also demonstrations of his supreme power over false deities. Each plague directly challenged and humiliated the gods of Mitsrayim, proving that Yahuah alone is Elohiym. "For I will pass through the land of Mitsrayim on that night, and will strike all the firstborn in the land of Mitsrayim, both man and beast. And against all the gods of Mitsrayim I will execute judgment. I am Yahuah." Exodus 12:12. Through these acts, Yahuah proclaimed his sovereignty and showed both Israel and the nations that he reigned supreme. To teach Israel the consequences of sin, Yisrael was repeatedly warned about the dangers of following the practices of the nations around them. Yahweh's commands to reject idolatry, sorcery, and pagan rituals were clear. "When you come into the land which Yahuah your Elohiym is giving you, you shall not learn to follow the abominations of those nations." Deuteronomy 18-9. Sadly, Yisrael often fell into the very sins they were warned against. Their repeated failures were lessons in the grave consequences of disobedience, teaching them and us about the devastating effects of turning away from the Most High. To fulfill his promises and prophecies, the land of Canaan was promised to Abraham and his descendants as part of the covenant Yahuah made with him. Genesis 15:18-21. Yahuah's decision to send Yisrael into this land was a fulfillment of his word. Moreover, the sins of the Canaanites had reached their full measure, and Yahuah's judgment was imminent. He used Israel as an instrument to cleanse the land of its abominations while establishing his covenant people in the promised land. It is because of the wickedness of these nations that Yahuah your Elohiym drives them out before you. Deuteronomy 9-5, to be a light to the nations. Yahuah intended for Yisrael to be an example of righteousness to the surrounding nations. By living according to his Torah, they were to reflect his holiness and draw others to the truth. "I, Yahuah, have called you in righteousness and will hold your hand. I will keep you and give you as a covenant to the people, as a light to the nations." Isaiah 42-6. Though Yisrael often faltered, the Most High's plan to use them as a beacon of his truth and glory never changed. A message for us today. The story of Yisrael in Mitsrayim and Canaan carries profound lessons for us. Just as Yahuah called them to be set apart, he calls us to live holy lives in a world filled with spiritual darkness. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of Elohiym. Romans 12-2. We too are tested by the influences around us, but through Yahuah's word and spirit, we are empowered to stand firm and fulfill our purpose as His chosen people. Conclusion: trusting Yahuah's plan. To seekers of the truth, the Most High's ways are higher than ours. Isaiah 55:9. His decision to send Yisrael into lands of idolatry was part of His divine plan to reveal His glory, teach His people, and fulfill His promises. Let us learn from Yisrael's journey and remain faithful, trusting Yahuah's wisdom and sovereignty in all things. May Yahuah guide you and keep you as you seek His truth. Shalom. Divina Gloria Yisrael.